Imagine waking up one morning to a letter demanding $250,000 from a group of people you've never even spoken to. Their reason? They say you owe them money for something they built on your land. Yeah, that happened to me. When my grandfather passed away, he left me a quiet little ranch on the edge of town. Peaceful, isolated. And for years, I didn't even touch it, just figured I'd keep it in the family. But apparently, someone else had other plans. It started with a knock at the door and ended with me staring down a homeowners association I never signed up for, never paid into, and never even knew existed. They built luxury townhouses on part of my inherited land, and now they wanted me to pay them $250,000 in shared development fees. At first, I thought it was a prank. Then I saw the paperwork. This isn't just a story about money or land. It's about standing your ground. It's about how fast a peaceful life can turn upside down, and how one small signature, or lack of it, can change everything. Let me tell you what happened, and how I fought back. I hadn't been to the ranch in years. After Grandpa passed, I inherited the place. A couple of acres, some old fences, a weathered barn, and that quiet charm only a rural property can offer. I was still young at the time, living in the city, working full-time, and the ranch just stayed there. No drama, no renters, just peaceful land. There was no HOA, no neighborhood committee. No neighbors, honestly, just open space. Every few months I'd get a property tax notice in the mail, pay it, and go on with life. It was simple, until it wasn't. I remember the moment it began. One morning, I found a thick envelope in my mailbox, not a normal-sized letter. It was heavy, stiff, had this official-looking emblem on the front, bold letters that read, "Notice of Dues, Pine Hill Estates, HOA." I laughed. Pine Hill Estates? Never heard of it. I almost tossed it out. I thought maybe it was a flyer or some marketing thing. But curiosity got the better of me, so I opened it. Inside, a multi-page breakdown of development fees owed, an aerial map with highlighted zones, and a due amount, $247,360.42, due within 30 days. I stared at it, confused, maybe even amused. It felt like a bad joke. But the map looked eerily familiar. I pulled out my laptop, searched for Pine Hill Estates. Turns out it was a newly developed suburban neighborhood just outside the city. Rows of identical beige homes, cookie-cutter driveways, fancy signs that said gated community and private access only. But what hit me was the aerial view. Their entire west row of homes, and a good chunk of their private park, was sitting directly on my land. Grandpa's land. I pulled out the deed. I had the coordinates. I cross-referenced it with the development map. And yep, they'd built, right over the line, not a little, not a fence, a whole street of homes. I sat there in disbelief. You know when you feel the blood rush from your head? Like everything slows down for a second? That was me. Now here's something most people don't know. Just because someone uses land doesn't mean they own it. And just because you haven't visited your land in years doesn't mean someone else can take it. But that's exactly what this HOA had done. They'd mistakenly included part of my inherited ranch in their development plans years ago. Claimed it was part of a shared border zone that was unused. Problem was, they never asked, never checked, never notified anyone, and now they were demanding I pay them a fee for my portion of their luxury development. Let that sink in. They built on my land, then tried to bill me for it, so I made a few calls to the HOA office, no response, called again, still nothing. Finally, I emailed politely, asking for clarification. They replied with legalese, cold, robotic, said the fee was standard practice and non-negotiable. They even attached a spreadsheet with penalties if I didn't pay in time. That's when I realized this wasn't just a mistake. This was a game, and they expected me to play by their rules. But they forgot one thing. I never joined their game. I wasn't some millionaire landowner. I didn't have a legal team on speed dial or money to throw at lawsuits. But I did have one thing: the truth. So I started digging. I pulled out the original land deed Grandpa left me. Everything was spelled out clearly. Coordinates, measurements, signatures. I even found a survey map from the year he bought the ranch. It didn't just confirm what I thought. It showed I owned even more than what the HOA had marked. They hadn't just crossed the line. They'd practically bulldozed over it. So I drove down to the county office. I wanted this confirmed by someone official. No doubts, no gray area. The clerk there, an older guy named Mark, looked over my papers, then pulled up satellite images and parcel data. His first words? "Oh man, they're in trouble." He printed out a color-coded overlay. It showed their development resting right over the boundary. They hadn't just encroached. They'd built entire structures on land that wasn't theirs. I asked him if anything had ever been filed to change the ownership. Any easement agreements, any development permits. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They'd never even filed for a boundary change. So I asked him what my next move should be. His answer was simple: "You're gonna need a lawyer." I found a property attorney. Her name was Lisa. Calm, confident, and sharp. I told her everything. Showed her the letters, the maps, the documents. She leaned back in her chair and said something that stuck with me. "They gambled on you not noticing. Happens all the time." She explained that in real estate, especially when dealing with large plots of land, some developers push boundaries. Literally. They hope the original owners either never come forward or just roll over when faced with pressure. But Lisa wasn't the rolling over type. She drafted a cease and desist letter and sent it to the HOA, their construction firm, and their legal department. And guess what? That's when they started calling. Suddenly I wasn't being ignored. They wanted to talk. They wanted to resolve the issue amicably. They even asked if I'd considered donating a portion of the land to the community, in exchange for waiving the $250K bill. "Yeah, right." Lisa responded for me. "No agreement will be made without compensation and legal correction of title boundaries." And just like that, the HOA flipped the script. They went from demanding money to offering me hush money, $50,000, then $75,000. I rejected both. Narrator, educational tone briefly to keep viewer learning. Here's the thing most people forget. Land is value, not just dirt and grass. It's legacy, it's equity, it's power. And in this case, it was leverage. Lisa explained that what they did could qualify as unauthorized occupation and possibly even trespassing with intent to profit. They'd increased their property value by millions using land they didn't own. We weren't just looking at small claims court anymore. We were looking at a potential lawsuit worth 7 figures, and the HOA knew it. Weeks passed. Letters flew back and forth. Their tone changed from arrogant to anxious. Then one day, Lisa called me with news. They want to settle, big time. They offered me full ownership recognition, a public apology, and a payout of $400,000, all for land I never sold, never touched. Land they illegally used and hoped I wouldn't notice. I took it, not because I wanted the money, but because it sent a message. You don't get to take what isn't yours, and you definitely don't get to intimidate someone just because they didn't see it coming. That ranch still stands. I haven't built anything on it, yet. But now, it's legally protected. The deed has been updated. The boundaries have been redrawn. And that HOA? Let's just say, they're a lot quieter. Now, I didn't grow up thinking I'd ever have to fight over land. I thought inheritance meant peace. I thought people respected boundaries, literally. But what this whole experience taught me is that sometimes they don't. Some people only see opportunity when they think you're not watching. That HOA had no idea whose land they were messing with. They thought I'd panic, that I'd fold, that I'd give in. But standing up wasn't just about land. It was about my grandfather's legacy, about the years he spent building something out of nothing. This wasn't just property, it was family history, and it reminded me of something else too. You don't need $1 million to defend what's yours. You just need truth, and a little help from the right people. Lisa, my lawyer, didn't just fight a case. She stood beside someone who had zero clue what a parcel overlay was. She took documents that looked like gibberish to me and turned them into a shield. So if you ever inherit land, or property, or anything with value, double-check everything, even if you trust the system, even if it looks clean on paper, because sometimes the problem isn't on paper, it's already built in concrete. And finally, to that HOA, thanks for the $400,000. I used it to put up a fence, a big one, right on the correct property line.